Meeting to order the Police and Fire Commission. Roll call.
Steingraber.
Here.
Kinker.
Yes.
Meek.
Here.
Keo.
Yes.
Myers.
Here. Welcome, everybody. This is a public comment period. Correspondence from anybody in the commission or otherwise.
I do have one item. The state just recently signed a bill that puts the county aid and Highway 10 bridge in the honor of LaVon Zenner, who was a Wood County deputy, died 30-something years ago. One thing that was not put in that bill is that at the time of her death, she was a member of the Marshfield Police Auxiliary, so she was a member of the police department. I had solicited the guy who was the director at that time to come and speak, but he is not available this morning, it looks like. So I do have some comments from him, from Rick Witzel. LaVon Zenner was a member of the Marshfield Police Auxiliary from March 1987 until her death, August 3rd, 1989, and put in 183.75 hours during that time. That total hours served as a volunteer for the auxiliary for the time she served demonstrated her interest and enthusiasm for the support and service the auxiliary provides at the Marshfield Police Department. Rick was serving as director of the auxiliary during her time with the group. He recalls that time of her tragic accident when he was in the UP camping. Another member had informed him somehow, and they drove back for her funeral at a Emmanuel Lutheran Church in town here. It was a very memorable event as there were representatives of area law enforcement from all over the area, including an honor guard from Green Bay. The procession of squads stretched for blocks as it made its way to Hillside Cemetery, and members of the auxiliary were proud to be a part of the honor guard for her. LaVon's enthusiasm for law enforcement service showed clearly as she worked hard to fulfill her dream of full-time service. Along with her volunteer service with the Marshfield Police Auxiliary, she studied police science at Mid-State Technical College, worked full-time with the Pittsville Police Department as a reserve deputy and later as full-time deputy with the Wood County Sheriff's Department. Certainly this honor of naming a bridge after her as a memorial of that service is most fitting and overdue. In speaking on behalf of the auxiliary, we are proud to have had her as one of our members. And I did, for the commissioners, distribute some of the information from that obituary and the articles at that time. So just when it comes up, I'm sure there'll be a ceremony. It'll be a worthy thing for the commission to attend to. That's all I have to say.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yep.
Stephen. How many years ago already? Any other communications or comments? Anybody? Approval of the minutes from the March 9th regular meeting.
Move to approve the minutes.
Motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes of the March 22nd special meeting.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second. Motion and a second by Steve. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And approval of the March 25th meeting, special meeting. Motion by Steve, second by Steve. Questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Introduction and approval of hiring chief.
Yeah, Logan, if you could step forward up here, please. Thank you. Buried in a sea of blue back there. So this is Logan Gessert. Logan began his duties with the department on March 9th, 2022. He comes to us from the Wisconsin Rapids area and attended Fort Edwards High School. He graduated in May 2021 with an associate degree in fire protection technician and was the first ever Mitch Lungard Memorial Scholarship recipient, which is a pretty cool thing. Logan will be finishing his paramedicine technical diploma on 4/18 of 22. We knew Logan would be a good fit for us after the interview process and his ride-along experience here at the Marshfield Fire Department. So we did the interview process. It was one of those processes where Logan was way up here and the rest of the pool was down here. So we actively pursued him to get him to want to ride with us and be on our department. He's been a very good fit so far. Logan's past firefighting experience was a paid on premise firefighter EMT with the Town of Grand Chute Fire and an intern with Appleton Fire. Some personal background for Logan is he is currently engaged to be married to his fiancee Caitlin. He also has a 6-month-old son named Boston. And Logan enjoys the typical Wisconsin outdoor hobbies of hunting, fishing, and golf. With that, I'm asking for Police and Fire Commission for the approval of the hiring of Logan Gesser.
Move approval.
By Andy, second by Stephen, for the approval of hiring firefighter EMT Logan Gesser. Any questions? Roll call
Steinberger,
Yes.
Pinker,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Keo,
Yes.
Myers.
vote. Yes. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Have you? We have a promotion to announce this morning. Chief.
Yes, present for Everett Mueller are his wife Carmen, mom and dad Kathy and Gary Mueller. Little background on Everett. Everett's been here originally here from Chippewa Falls. He's been here almost 18 years. He joined the department on June 28, 2004. Everett served in the U.S. Navy from 1995 to 99 as a combat engineer, petty officer, 3rd class. He also served in the National Guard and Reserves from 1999 to 2007. Everett graduated from Fox Valley Technical College with an associate degree in fire science, and also graduated from UW Green Bay with a bachelor's degree in 2014. It'd be a vast understatement to say that Everett has been actively involved with the department his entire career. If you look at our committee list, it'd be easier to say he's been on more committees than the ones he hasn't been on. It's not uncommon to see Everett working past 10 o'clock at night on a project that dealt with a committee or organizing something in the department. There's no doubt that Everett cares deeply about the city and the department. If I had to pick out a couple of projects Everett really helped out with, it would be the Public Education Committee, where he served as committee chair from 2013 to 2015. Everett organized the committee and really turned it into what it is today, and it is the most active committee on this department. It's the most organized committee on this department. And the second and most recent, he helped resurrect our Youth Fire Center Intervention Specialist Committee, formerly known as GFS Committee. And this committee focuses on how to identify and mitigate youth fire setting behavior. This was once an active program throughout the state and here years and years ago. And most departments lost oversight of that committee, which is, the oversight is from an adolescent behavior specialist. So we saw the volunteer part of that kind of go away for a while. Everett helped find a local adolescent behavior specialist to oversee the committee again, updated the documents, organized and divided up tasks for everybody to do, and I can officially say it's back online as of 2022, which is really nice. Everett tested for deputy chief during the 2021 promotional process and achieved very high marks in all categories. The top 2 candidates for deputy chief were less than 1% of each other. I'm confident that Everett has the organizational skills, the drive, and the ability to take on responsibilities of Deputy Chief of Fire Prevention. Everett tends to walk the walk, so to speak, and he leads by example. Everett has earned the respect of his peers by his hard work and dedication to our citizens, the city, and the department. And with that, I ask the commission to approve the promotion of Lieutenant Everett Mueller to the rank of Deputy Chief in charge of fire prevention, effective 4/18 of 2022.
I'll entertain a motion to that effect. Stephen.
Second.
Second, Bill. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Steinberger,
Yes.
Pinker,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Keo,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes. Congratulations. Office, we have Deb Hall, city clerk, with us here this morning.
Raise your right hand, say aye.
I,
Pronounce your name,
Everett Mueller,
and repeat after me. do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the municipal code of the City of Marshfield,
and the municipal code of the City of Marshfield,
and will perform the duties
and will perform the duties
to which I have been selected
which I have been selected
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. Thank you very much.
Bad, I present you with your badge, I imagine. You got a little assistance there. Good luck.
Remember coming straight in now.
Congratulations, Edward. Thank you.
Good stuff.
We should have a circle around the commission.
Everett, could you join a few of the commissioners up here too? They want to offer you some congratulations.
Sorry, I apologize. Thank you. Thank you.
Congrats.
My badge looks good on you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief, you have another promotion.
I do. So the Lieutenant Mueller being promoted up to Deputy Chief, that leaves a lieutenant position open. Joe Vandenelson is the next person I'd like to promote to Lieutenant. If you come on up here, Joe, stand on the end there. His wife Darcy is here, his sons Carson and Lucas, and then his mom Linda is here as well. So, welcome. A little background on Relief Lieutenant Vandenelson. Joe is originally from Appleton. He's been with the Marshfield Fire and Rescue Department for almost 20 years, joining the department on August 26, 2002. Joe earned his associate degree in fire science from Fox Valley Tech in 2000 and finished his bachelor's degree in fire administration in 2017. Relief Lieutenant Vandenelson tested for the lieutenant position in 2021 promotional process and scored very high. He's currently #1 on our eligibility list to become the next lieutenant for the Marshfield Fire and Rescue Department. Relief Lieutenant Vandenelson has been a field training officer for over 17 years. I believe that's the longest tenure we have on this department. He has been dedicated to mentoring our newer firefighters and teaching them how to operate on our equipment and make sure everybody understands operations and policies. Over the years, Relief Lieutenant Vandenelson has taken the responsibility to make sure our engines and pumps are in good operating condition and has taken the time to master the art of pumping. Being one of our veteran POs, Joe also takes that time to pass that on to their newer members. And this, in turn, makes everybody at our department better at our trade. Since becoming Relief Lieutenant in 2017, Joe has had to step up in the lieutenant and shift commander role on many occasions. Joe has always possessed leadership skills and always used those skills well when stepping into those officer positions. Through hard work, Joe has garnered the respect of his peers. We all have great confidence that Joe will be a great officer at this department. I have no doubt that Joe's transition to lieutenant will be seamless. He will continue to be an effective leader at this department. So with that, I ask the commission to approve the promotion of Relief Lieutenant Joe Vandenelson to the rank of lieutenant on red shift effective 4/19/2022.
I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Motion by Andy, second by Steve. Questions? Roll call, please.
Steingraber,
Yes.
Pinker,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Keo,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes. Deb, if you come forward again.
Raise your right hand, say aye,
Aye.
and repeat after me. Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin
to support the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin
and the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the United States
and the municipal code of the City of Marshfield.
and the municipal code of the City of Marshfield,
I will perform the duties
and perform the duties
to which I have been selected
to which I have been selected
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, it's all yours.
All right.
Thank you.
Very Dutch. Thank you. Thanks. So, everybody, there's cake and coffee and stuff upstairs. Or you wanna go up there and have cake and coffee? Otherwise, you're not welcome to attend this.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, right. That's okay. You know, I can't. Remember. I don't, trust me.
Okay, we will, we'll move on. Fire service and law enforcement news update. Mr. Banker.
Thank you. Got a number of items for your attention today. There's a page listing the governor's distribution of federal funds for law enforcement agencies. In this area, you can see Marathon County received nearly $141,000. Wausau Police Department, $136,000. Wood County Sheriff's, a bit more than $68,000. Everest Metro, $54,500. Marshfield PD, just short of $51,000. Rapids, $47,000. And Spencer Police Department received $7,000 in funds distributed by the governor. You should have a page labeled "Fire and Police Didn't Follow Policies During Minneapolis Riots." The after-action report commissioned by the city of Minneapolis and conducted by a risk assessment firm in Maryland is available now. It was published on March 7th. It is available online. If you go to the city of Minneapolis website, it is available there for downloading. It is a rather extensive document, filled in a nice 3-ring binder. I would advise anybody in a command position, as well as the commissioners, take a look at that either online or download a copy. It is a significant report. In the end, the consultant came out with 27 recommendations. To do a quick summary, the city of Minneapolis, the police department, and the fire department got beat up really bad by the consultants. There were a lot of failures that took place. The report is worth reading. You may remember in January, there was a deadly fire in an apartment house in New York City. It was the largest fire death since the Happy Land Social Club incident 30 years ago. When the after-action report was done on that, it was an inspection issue. At that time, Mayor de Blasio in New York insisted that fire department inspectors be shifted to COVID inspection and check-in restaurants. This was pushed down on the schedule, and I think this demonstrates the importance of an inspection program that is not hindered. Some of the deficiencies in the building would have been detected, but they were missed because the inspection program was greatly disrupted. Another item on 4C of our minutes, it notes that we had a brief discussion about fire apparatus and the replacement schedule. I put together a list of significant manufacturers of fire apparatus. There are 21 listed, and there are quite a few others out there that may fit into a specialty position. I listed these alphabetically for you. I then listed what their specialties are. And I also listed for you the traditional big names of fire equipment. There is one group called the Rev Group, which actually has its headquarters in Brookfield, Wisconsin. They have been buying up manufacturers, so they currently own E1, Ferrara, KME, LTC, Smeel, and Spartan. And I don't know whether those are being operated as independent entities within the larger corporation, or whether they're actually being operated out of the headquarters building. Wisconsin has 3 of these major manufacturers: Pierce, Seagrave, and Marion. And in fact, Seagrave is going to be putting together a facility in Wausau. I believe that's primarily for the construction of cab units for their apparatus. And I would just note that some of these outfits are basically regional. As an example, there's a company called Four Guys Fire Trucks. They're located in Pennsylvania, and it's basically a niche in the East Coast. There's one that you don't hear of unless you look at lists of delivered equipment. Toyne, which is located in Iowa, and they have a small segment. If you go and look at the list, they do a full range, but it's one of these groups that does have a specialty in tankers and water tenders and wildland equipment. Excuse me. On the police side, no one knows whether these will be available for police departments, but Chevrolet now has a Pursuit-rated Silverado. On the positive side of police operations, you may recall the weeks of riots in Portland, Oregon. There was an out-of-state demonstrator who was supplying weapons and firebombs, and in fact was tossing firebombs at people's cars. He had tossed a beer growler filled with gasoline at one of the police lines. It did not ignite, and the police recovered it, and they also had pictures of him, and they recovered DNA evidence from the jug, plus he had left the merchant sticker on the bottom. So they were able to go back to the merchant, check the video, so they confirmed who it was, and after an intensive investigation and a trial in the county court for the area Portland is in, the gentleman was sentenced to 10 years in prison on 14 felonies and a misdemeanor criminal damage charge. So there are people out there that do help the police. And I think that is all that I've got for you.
Thank you. I should add something, just not to neglect. More recently, the local firm, Seamless Repair, has gotten into the business of building fire units. Monroe Truck also, for several years, has put out something they specialize in is a tanker tender with a midship hoist that lifts the truck up to dump the water. So those are two, well, I don't know how much work they've done around here, but I know we've had experience with stainless and repair in the bidding process of our last fire unit, so. But again, they probably aren't up to the standards of the major manufacturers like, but they certainly do want to get started in the business. So hopefully it could be something to put Marshfield on the map if either one of them really took off a lot. They say have them local. I think we've done some repair work with them.
Yes.
Gas and stainless. So, thanks, Bill. Next item, approval of the fire department bills.
Thank you. I have two sets of bills, both signed by Commissioner Panker, one on March 9th, and one on March 30th. Looked over the bills, I really didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Be happy to answer any questions and ask for commissioner approval of the bills.
Entertain a motion to approve the bills.
So moved.
Andy, second, by Steve. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Steingraber,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mead,
Yes.
Keel, Myers.
Yes. Thank you, Chief. Police department bills.
Good morning. Got two sets of bills that I submitted to you. Both of them are signed by Commissioner Steingraber, one on the 10th of March, the other on the 30th of March. The one item of note that I did notice was the bill for ammunition for $5,953.80. I just wanted to mention that that is about an annual bill for us, and that would cover our duty, practice, and qualification, which is mandated by the state. With that, I can answer any other questions or would ask for your approval.
Move to approve the bills.
Motion to approve, second base, Andy. Questions? Roll call, please.
Steingraber,
Yes.
Hank,
Yes. Yes.
Mead,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we had a number of bills, sets of bills from the police department. Did we do all of them at the same time?
We did them all at the same time, yeah.
Oh, I
Oh, you
had-
had questions?
Oh, yeah.
You're more than welcome. I hesitated. The unusual. Okay.
I would like, Chief, an explanation. If you look on page 13J.
I have to borrow Pete's. Under my other shirt.
No,
For fire.
this is for fire.
Oh, for fire?
Oh, yeah.
Need to vote.
Yeah, let's go back. Can you explain to me, an $85.98 purchase of Lego classic large?
Yes. Yeah, I can. So during the Everett's introduction, I mentioned that we reintroduced the Youth Fire Prevention Interventionalist Specialist program again. So in talking with our adolescent child behavior person, they recommended that for younger kids, it's easier to talk to them if you're building like what Legos with them and doing something, and it's just easier to talk to them about what happened with perhaps a fire setting behavior.
Then that would explain the next item, Mega Block First Builder's Big Building Bag.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we're not playing with Legos here, I promise. It is for the kids, although some people might want to play with here. I don't know, but that's what the purchase for.
All right, thank you.
I can actually add to that. There's actually a secondary purpose for those that it was not intended, but I know we've already used them. As an EMS instructor, fire instructor, we use those at the tech college, and I know our crews have used them here as well already for a radio drill, where you have an object built in one room, and the crew in the other room has to build the same object, but only by description over the radio. They've already done that training this month.
Good for you. Which brings me to the next item, and you were the subject of that.
I feel like I was in there somewhere.
If you go to 13N, the pizza pub,
Yes.
did you guys eat 2 meals on the same day?
No, was there 2 in there or just 1?
Different budgets.
It's split.
Oh, it's split, okay, so
It's
that would be,
split.
yep, that would be, Deputy Chief Jonas and myself went to a conference down in the Dells. My part of that budget is under EMS, his is under the, emergency management. So when we have a bill like that, it gets split between the appropriate budgets. That's why it's listed twice.
I thought you were talking about second supper.
Good night snack.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anything else, sir?
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't want to let things slide.
Fire department activities, training reports, and correspondence. Chief.
Thank you again. On pages 15A and 15B, you'll see we had an ER doctor ride along with our ambulance crews on March 8th through the 10th. This is new to us. This is the first time we've had an ER doc ride along, so it's a new ER doctor. The purpose of this is to give him some perspective of what we do and what we're bringing in prior to our arrival at the emergency department. It also gives him and our crews a great opportunity to get to know each other. EC Bacus set this whole program up so we can start getting our ER docs in here to ride along, as well as other various entities we work with, such as dispatch. He's working on getting nurses in here as well to ride along with us. Our crews actually go and visit dispatch so we can see what they're going through prior to the call coming in. So it's a good program. Deputy Chief Bacus set this all up, and it's just a really cool thing. So, want to point that out for you guys. Call volume wise, you'll see statistics in there. The trend continues to show that we are much busier than last year. Through the first quarter of the year, we've run 141 more calls than in 2021. So about a 15% increase is where we're at right now on the year. This pace continues, we'll be over 4,000 calls for the year. For us. You'll find more statistics, quarterly hazmat payment, a hazardous materials equipment grant that Jody, Deputy Chief Clemens, applies for every year. That money for that grant is used for meters or different things in the hazardous materials program. You also notice a thank you card in there. Tours are starting to ramp up and we're getting out to more conferences again, which is great. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have. I ask you to accept this packet and place it on file.
Questions on the reports from the chief?
Just a comment about activity on March 4th, where Chief met with Wisconsin Homes to discuss the sprinkler system, and then over on 9, Chief meeting with the development review team. Having served many years on the planning commission, I greatly appreciate the work that Chief Letty has done keeping us informed about what's going on in developments. We've had a few recent ones where I've been the lone supporter of some of the chief's recommendations regarding water availability at particular development sites. And his insight is greatly appreciated. In fact, the last time we addressed some issues was a potential development on Lincoln Avenue. And that's an interesting part of town because the nearest hydrants are in excess of 1,500 feet from the potential development. Now, luckily, there's going to be water coming in when some work is done on Lincoln Avenue. One of those hose connections would have to actually go across Highway 13. And having known 2 chiefs that have had to stop traffic, one on a railroad main line and the other on a major highway, this creates a large number of problems. State Patrol doesn't like it when you blockade a major highway, and the railroad takes great offense when you block their tracks. Just a sidelight in the case of the chief who blocked the main line. He got first contact with the conductor, second contact with the train master, third contact with somebody in an office building in Montreal, Canada. And when he said, okay, I'll pull the hoses if you're going to pay for the damage to the gentleman's building, at which point the gentleman in Montreal slammed the phone down and they kept pumping water. EMS report. Because Commissioner Keough constantly asks us about who is Central Fire, where are all of these transfer coming in Clark County, what I have done,
Just for me.
just for you, I have prepared a map of all of the Clark County emergency services and indicated whose ambulance is picking up who.
Thank you very much, Bill.
And you'll notice Clark County has got some interesting situations because you've got agencies within Clark County. When you get down to the far southwestern corner, ambulance service is being provided from Black River Falls or from Osseo.
That's all.
That's crazy.
Any other input or comments or questions before we place these on file? Oh, so be it. They'll be placed on file.
Thank you.
Thank you. Accept approval of the retirement, chief.
Yes. Page 16A, actually. Firefighter Jason Poole submitted his retirement paperwork on March 22nd. Having started his career with the department on June 26th of '98, Jason will have almost 24 years of service with us when he retires on May 20th of 2022. Jason has always been knowledgeable about all topics fire and EMS. Firefighter Foth is also the fire chief of Spencer Fire. And I believe it is his intent to continue working as the chief of Spencer Fire Department. So we look forward to continuing to work with him in that capacity. Jason will certainly be missed here at the Marshfield Fire Department. I want to wish Jason the best. I think we all do here at the fire department. And ask for commission approval of the retirement of firefighter paramedic Jason Poole effective May 20th, 2022.
I move to accept and approve the retirement and with best wishes to his future activities.
Motion, second.
Second.
Andy, any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Steingraber,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Keough,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes. Permission to begin lieutenant, release lieutenant, and deputy chief promotion process, fire department. Chief.
Page, thanks Mike. On page 17A, you'll notice a memo. As stated in the memo, with the recent promotions of relief lieutenant and deputy chief, with the recent promotions, our relief lieutenant and deputy chief eligibility lists are exhausted. Lieutenant eligibility list for the contract between the city and Poole 1021 expires on June 2nd of 2022. In addition, we currently have one opening for relief lieutenant after the promotions and with nobody to promote up at this time. So with that, I'd like commission approval to conduct a promotional process for deputy chief, lieutenant, and relief lieutenant at some point late in the spring or early this summer. I'd like a chance to review our promotional eligibility list documents and make sure they're up to date. Review the test, make sure that's ready to go before I move forward with this and select a date. Per contract, we do have to give 45 days notice of the promotional process. And of course, we welcome commission involvement during the process. I believe, Mike, you participated in last year's process. And once again, we welcome that. So I'm looking for approval to conduct a promotional process at some point this summer. I'll let you guys know what that date would be after reviewing the documents.
Okay, anybody care to give the chief permission to?
I permit you.
Okay, motion by Andy, second by Steve. Questions? Roll call, please.
Steingraber?
Yes.
Pinker?
Yes.
Meek?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Myers?
And approval of the request, we need to approve a request to refill 2 vacant firefighter line positions created by promotions. Chief?
I move to approve.
Fantastic. I'm getting tired of talking.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Steven. Any questions?
This will not increase the total number of lines in your budget dedicated to people.
Correct. Yes, these are all budgeted positions for 20.
I felt obliged, I knew that, but I felt obliged to ask.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay, for approval, roll call, please.
Steingraber?
Yes.
Pinker?
Yes.
Meek?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes. Next item is discussion and a request to approve modified daytime staff schedule for the department.
I'll just introduce this really quick. Steve did all the legwork on this. On pages 19A and through 19H, you'll find a paper written by DC Bacus regarding research and proposal for moving our daytime staff to a flexible schedule. DC Bacus proposed this a few years ago at the time when it was asked to give more research. History has shown that we typically don't see very many applicants for our daytime DC positions. After talking with firefighters and having work shifts myself, both daytime and shift work, firefighters typically enjoy the shift work, and for the most part, many find it difficult to move from a Monday to Friday schedule. On the other part, a lack of applicants for deputy chief is linked to pay compression between lieutenants and deputy chief, but that's being handled separately. I just want the commission to know that I am fully supportive of the concept of a flexible schedule or moving to a 410 schedule. After looking at DC Bacus's research and doing a little on my own, it seems to me, and actually a few calls to other departments that do this, it seems to me that the more flexible schedule helps alleviate stress, creates a better work-life balance for daytime staff, and will help incentivize our own firefighters to move toward a daytime deputy chief position. So again, I just want the commission to know I'm fully supportive of this idea. I'll let Steve explain the rest of his paper.
Thank you.
Take it over from here.
Yeah. So as the chief had stated, I brought this up a couple of years ago. The commission was asked to do some research. Just one issue after another, things kind of got set aside. I had some time recently to look into it again, put that paper together, talked with multiple departments. I reached out to the EMS directors across the state from other fire departments, found that there are multiple departments that already do this. And really the gist of what I'm requesting is just a acknowledgement of a more flexible schedule. As I have written in the paper, daytime staff, and actually all DCs, all management, we're really available 24/7, 365. We come in holidays, weekends, nights for fire calls. Any issues that arise, we're always available. So really just looking to make it more flexible, and as Chief also stated, hopefully some of our future leaders get them interested in these daytime positions for when myself and DC Mueller decide to move forward, as well as the chief. I know that a lot of departments, or several departments, have their daytime staff has the flexibility to work up to 410s. Many of those staff members will still even come in on a Friday if they have a few things left to do. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I see the same benefit for the chiefs of departments, as well as our administrative associate, Lori. I know she's also able to come in if we have fires, we have a larger incident, working outside those normal hours. So the gist of what I'm requesting is just that flexibility, not locking into an actual, you have to work 410s or 5/8 kind of a schedule. I guess with that, I'd like to answer any questions you guys may have.
Yes, after our conversation about this the other day, the only thing that I'm questioning, or the thought I have, and you guys can figure out your schedules, but just to make sure that there's coverage in the office, or there's enough coverage so it's not always poor Pete in the office and all the deputy chiefs are gone,
Yeah.
or whatever, on Friday all the time. But that you guys are adults, you can figure out your schedule with that. That's the only concern I would have, just to make sure there's adequate coverage and people in the office or whatever as needed.
Yeah, I very much agree. I know even, on holidays or weekends when the daytime staff is off, we still have a deputy chief or at the very least a relief lieutenant in charge of the shift. We regularly entertain phone calls at home if anything pops up that they can't handle. So definitely we want to make sure things are covered.
I think it's important also to understand that the phone tree is set up to go through shift DC first. Even if the daytime DCs are off and not in their office, a phone call will be answered by a shift deputy chief and a message can be relayed.
Okay.
Mike?
Yes, go ahead.
What I did is I took the references that Steve had mentioned relative to Wisconsin departments. I called each of the departments. Beloit is the only one that did not return a message. And I talked to the chiefs of department in Oshkosh, Rapids, and Stevens Point, and Pewaukee. In addition, I had Steve contact Superior and Chippewa Fire Protection District. In Stevens Point, there Chief Moody does work 5 days a week, but his deputy and his assistant deputies for fire, rescue, and EMS, they work 4/10s. The division training officers, they have a true flex schedule because the training officer does deal with nighttime training with area departments, and their fire marshal does various inspections in the evening, restaurant inspections, tavern inspections, and so forth. The assistant chiefs, they really have a variable start time. Currently, one does start at 6 a.m., the other does start at 7 a.m. Chief noted more productivity, better morale, more efficiency. I talked to Chief Eckes in Wisconsin Rapids. Better morale, more efficiency, more productivity. In his case, the EMS chief is the one that works 4/10s, though we noted there's a deputy chief in the PD that works 4/10s. In Pewaukee, they have a true flex time schedule. Chief noted it works well, better efficiency, better attitude, better morale, more productivity. In Oshkosh, it was interesting here because Chief Stanley did present an alternative to 4/10s during our conversation, which was work 5 9s one week, 4 9s the next. But basically, they do work a flex type schedule. The interesting comment made from Chief Stanley before he talked about anything else was, "Oh, you're looking at 4/10s, do it!" Exclamation point. Chippewa Falls, there the chief has a flexible type schedule, and in Superior, the chief and the assistant can flex. Like I said, Beloit did not return a call. I made an additional call to Duluth, Minnesota, and I talked to their administrative assistant there. The only one who can flex is the chief of department. The other chiefs appear to be on some sort of shift schedule. In summary, from what I found, you're Chief Stanley, do it. All the comments that I received were basically the same, either same words or words of substance. Efficiency, morale, productivity, and as Chief Stanley noted, it's an incentive for people to seek a promotion. de-emphasize that one. So I have no problem with going to a flex type schedule for the chiefs.
Thanks for the information, Bill.
Steve, exactly who would have the schedule, the flex?
My proposal, my request would be that it would be all daytime staff, including the administrative associate and the chief. The way it has been operated for years is that with meetings, coming in for emergencies, things like that, we're always available. When you talk about the benefits, as Commissioner Penker pointed out, I believe those same benefits apply to the chief as well as the administrative associate. I don't see a reason to do just the DCs. I think it should be all daytime staff. At the very least on a trial basis, and we can always report back to you guys and let you know if there's any issues.
It sort of drives me crazy, and it's both the police and fire department. You're either salaried or hourly. You're not both. You can't be both. I don't understand. The union has sort of forced has twisted what makes sense, if you like. If I hire you on a salary and not hourly, I expect you I'm hiring you by the job, not by the hour. Higher ed is my reference. And higher ed, I understand, is different. And as long as the professor taught his classes, had office hours for students, served on the committees he was supposed to, and did the other things, the scholarship and I didn't care if they were in their office or not. Some of them I only saw 2 days a week. That was fine. They got their work done. If you want to do this, it seems fine to me, because I don't care how often you're in here, as long as you get your work done. Now, if you got to be in here and you're salaried and it's 52 hours a week, that's what you bought into.
Absolutely.
But if you can do it in 20 and get the rest of it done somewhere, and if you can get it all done in 20, I got to redo your.
I can tell you from experience, it can't.
I haven't found a week.
Well, that's the way it is, though. I never worked a 40-hour week, and sometimes I take an afternoon off. But I was nights, I was weekends. Have to be at a meeting in Madison at 9:30. Meeting goes to 5, drive home. The next morning I get in the car, I gotta be in Rice Lake by 9. That goes all day. I drive home, and the next day I'm in the office at 7:30. I didn't get paid by the hour. I got paid as, and you do what you have to do.
Yep.
This business about just do it and see how it goes. I like the motion to indicate it's a trial effort, and you report back in a year and tell us whether it's something you want to keep on or you want to adapt or change or whatever. But I'll make that
Is that a
motion.
motion? Okay. Is there a second?
Can I add something to that?
We'll get a second first.
I'll second.
Okay, second. Okay, Steve.
So I'm in agreement with it completely, and I talked to Deputy Chief Pecos about this. I think it's a win-win, common sense approach. The only thing I would like to see, if at all possible, don't wait a whole year to troubleshoot something that may come about, that may need some change, that maybe the commission would want to know, and then ultimately maybe decide that it's permanent
Yeah,
at
that's
the
fine.
conclusion of a
That's
year.
fine.
That way they can tweak it along the way, and they could have done that anyhow without
Yeah.
including us. But
So not put a time on it at all in the first year, 6 months or?
Well, why not just have them in the first year report a couple times on how it's going?
I can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can do that.
That's
All
right.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve to request to modify the daytime staff schedule at the fire department. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Steingraber?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Yes.
Keel? Ayers?
Yes.
Thank you.
And you can come, I'm gonna be in here on Friday afternoons.
Can you let me know which Fridays?
I'm only 5 minutes down the road. I can be here in 5 minutes.
Alright. High school recruitment program, Deputy Chief Jones.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for allowing me to speak on this. So as you guys are well aware, for the past 10 years, the city of Marshfield, along with most other departments in the country, have had an issue with recruiting firefighters, police officers to their departments. 4 years ago, I sat in here and asked your permission to start the process to address that within our city here. Now 4 years seems like a long time, but it has honestly taken that long to build the relationships needed to have this program be where we need it to be. This program that is set up and is currently running is composed of 3 major parts. One of which is a job shadow. Another is an internship that is yet to come to fruition. And the third is high school students are able to earn college credits towards a career in fire or EMS service. Now, how we did that was we partnered with, first with the high school, Marshfield High School, with Marshfield Middle School, Columbus, and Mid-State Technical College. And we built this program kind of from the top down. So we started with the college credit portion. One other issue that was addressed was the aging population of our volunteer services in our surrounding areas. That is a problem for Marshfield Fire Department as well, because we work closely with those departments. We rely on them for first response. Those communities rely on those firefighters, EMS professionals, or volunteers for their own well-being. So we found it necessary to build in a component where these students who choose not to pursue a professional career but still want to serve can exit high school with the college credits needed, with the courses needed to be hireable by their local volunteer service. So that was a nice component that Mid-State helped us build into this program. Once that portion was built, I was approached by Mackie, Karen Isaacson to be exact, and she presented the final piece to our puzzle, which was the job shadow portion. When I first started this process, I knew that we needed to draw in local people, and not just from Marshfield, but from our surrounding communities, because it's important. We've seen it over our history that, Marshfield has become a stepping stone. So we hire these folks off the Fox Valley list, off the CBTC list, and they get their year, and then they want to go back home to their departments, to their home family towns, which I can't blame them. So I wanted to make sure that we're trying to mimic that and pull people in from our localities, from local here. So that's what we're focusing on. So we started with Marshfield High School, got the relationships built there, and now with Mackie's partnership, we're going to be pulling students in from most of central Wisconsin. The job shadow portion has just recently started up. We have 2 students going already, which was sooner than I thought. So these students, the job shadow students, have to have a driver's license. They come here for a 3-week rotation. They are here from 08:30 to 10, 2 days a week. And so they're part of the Health Career Connections program within Mackie. So these are students that are going around to all the health careers within Marshfield, but now the Marshfield Fire Department is listed on that, listed within that list, so they can do a rotation here. The signups for this program has already started for next year. Next year we have 20 students signed up already for the Marshfield Fire Department. which is promising, and I get excited for that. So the job shadow portion is up and running. We're excited for that, and hopefully we'll see some students go into the tech school program, and we'll start seeing some fruits of our labor from this system. Now there is a spreadsheet set up because I want to make sure we're tracking this data to make sure that the time and effort spent on this program is efficient. The third part of this program, like I spoke to, would be the internship, the paid internship. And as you can imagine, that can be difficult for a public service, for a tax-based service to come up with funds to pay high school students for an internship here. Karen Isaacson has some contacts in Madison, and we're hoping to build some connections at the state level and start some committees, some think tank committees, if you will, on how to open up state funds for fire departments within the state to provide funding for these internships. Because as I said before, this isn't just a problem in Marshfield, this is a problem in the entire state and other states as well. So we're trying to think big here. We're trying to be thoughtful in the use of our funds and time. But I think this program is going to really take off and provide the City of Marshfield Fire Department with future candidates to supply our hiring lists with. So with that, that's really the bones of the program. I certainly entertain questions and be happy to answer anything I can.
Can I just say something really quick? I want to thank Eric for all his hard work on this. Eric didn't start this with a white shirt on. I talked a lot about our culture and the people we have here on March 25th. And this is just part of that. We have a lot of people that step up and do things like that. Eric took on this program with a blue shirt on. Like I said, we've got several people that do great things like this, but I especially want to thank Eric, who worked very hard on this over the last 4 years to put this together, and it's really turning into something very, very good for us. So
Sounds like you made remarkable progress already.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just, I can't take the credit for that. That is through building relationships and connections in the community and really just relying on those connections and relationships to solve the problem. We're working together to solve this problem.
Any questions by the commission?
Have you spoke to any other agencies that do similar things? I know Green Bay Fire Department has a somewhat similar program.
I haven't spoken to any agencies per se. I have received, actually Chief Owen reached out and I received some programs in which I utilized to guide where I was going to go with this program. This is not me inventing the wheel. There's multiple programs out there like this. We just need to make something work for the City of Marshfield and our surrounding areas. So there are programs like this in larger metro areas.
Anybody else?
No.
Jim?
Even if the young people that come into this program gravitate to a volunteer fire department, that is still good. It gives us good publicity as well. Anytime you're reading articles from the National Volunteer Firefighters Association, there's got to be a paragraph or more about the need. The volunteer departments, they're becoming older. They're not getting new people. In some cases, it's the training requirements and the hours of training. So I'm supportive of this both for us and for the neighboring departments. I would suggest researching some grant possibilities. Also, since they're in Wisconsin right now, I'd suggest contacting the PR people at Pierce, Marion, and Seagrave and see if they would be interested in trying to support something like this.
Good idea.
I realized, we're not FDNY, so it's secret. Just forget us on that point. It would be well worth a try.
Yeah, I agree.
Police department have any interest in doing a similar program?
Yes, we've had our recruiting committee that's not quite got off the ground yet because of some staffing issues, but we've talked about reaching into the high school a bit more. They've got a law class in high school that we do some presentation with our PSLOs. We'd like to tap into that. We've had some mentors that we've had from high school students that have like a buddy system as they're going through. We'd like to grow with that, and then also with our ties in the tech schools to reach out and build relationships there. So it's not quite as extensive as what Eric's put together, but we're on the same track.
Get them on the squad cars.
Absolutely, and we do ride-alongs with the high schools still every year.
Okay.
Now that COVID is calming down, we can kind of build back up.
I'd be happy to share any contacts with the police department. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
One other portion I did reach out to our neighboring departments because I felt it necessary to ask permission. I would like to be going out to their high schools and promoting this program. I have received permission from our neighboring departments to do so. And I also have highlighted the fact that we're trying to get them people as well. Just so you're aware of that.
I think it's an overall benefit to both services. I mentioned on the police department, but fire service in particular, because we can relate to the problems they're having. Getting enough manpower, especially during the day, to man their equipment and to respond to incidents that, to get younger people involved with it, or at least get them interested in at an earlier age, that number one, that possibly beefing up their manpower in the future. It's going to be a benefit for everybody all the way around. So I commend you for your taking that lead and organizing that. I think we're going to see a lot of benefit from that in the future.
Yeah, the program exposes young people to a good career option.
Absolutely.
Good.
I got one more comment. I believe that there's a medical unit which includes enlisted personnel and National Guard. I think maybe even in Marshfield, or at least years ago they had it, or in the surrounding area. Maybe it might be a good idea to reach out to them, because I think a lot of those type people would love the opportunity to start being mentored outside their part-time job in the service and get their foot in the door somewhere. So.
Great. And if you commissioners come up with any other ideas on people that I can connect with or possibilities for grant money, I'd be more than happy to take those suggestions and run with them.
Super. Good news. Good news. Okay, thanks for your information. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, and your hard work.
Please excuse me, I have another meeting.
I know which one you're going. See you there.
Review and approval of fire department DNR memorandum.
Yeah, pages 21A through 21F, you'll find a memorandum describing mutual aid for the DNR. It's a pretty standard contract. Generally, we don't have contracts for mutual aid. It's just kind of reciprocating services to help each other out. For the DNR though, we were sent this via email. Did a little research, went back, and I found a similar memorandum of understanding that was signed back in 2012 under Chief Schmidt. The only question I really had on the memorandum itself was who signed it. It was an upside down V on the signature line, so I wasn't sure if that was commission that signed that or if it was city administrator or whoever. I went and forwarded the memorandum to HAP, and you'll see in my memorandum on 21A that it sounds like the PFC can execute this memorandum, seeing there is no money going back and forth between the two parties. So I did include his quote from his email in there regarding PFC might want to seek council approval prior to signing, but it doesn't sound like it's necessary. And we've been through this, down this road before. I don't know if there's confusion or what.
There's no confusion on the PFC's part.
Got it.
It's on the city's part.
Understand. The only other part with the memorandum is I did select no payment for each of the options. That allows us to get points for the grant process through the DNR. So that's what I'd recommend doing. Depending on how you wish to proceed, I ask for approval to either approve and sign the contract, approve the MOU, and proceed to council prior to signing.
I entertain a motion to approve and have a signature by the Police and Fire Commission. I don't know if this is something that would come under the council, so.
Because if there is any kind of, you know, apparatus, anything, that's all us anyway, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's something to control it.
Yeah, for mutual aid, it's basically service for service. We don't hand any money back and forth for that.
That's a policy kind of thing. Procedure thing. So,
I'd be glad to move whatever you want.
okay, that sounds good. As I suggested, so is there a second? Steve? Okay, any questions? Roll call, please.
Sugarman?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Meek?
Yes.
Theo?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes. Thank you. Discussion on the addition of a second lieutenant on each shift with the fire department. Chief?
Lori, do you have copies of the?
I do, I passed it out,
Okay,
yeah.
excellent, thank you. This topic relates back to last year. If you remember, we talked about getting a lieutenant in charge of training so they could train more with their crews and be with their crews and take over that program. And that was part of the inspection bureau concept, and we were going to have relief lieutenants at that time take over basically inspections. We were trying to work this through contract negotiations, which are still ongoing. And actually during the contract negotiations, the idea of adding a second lieutenant came up during those negotiations. Since this is a structural change, before I wanted to pursue this, I wanted to get commission approval to even start talking about this possibility. Looking at it from a high 30,000 foot view, it's adding a second lieutenant would be a whole lot more clean than the inspection bureau concept we previously mentioned. The only reason we didn't bring this up before is we didn't feel it was financially possible at that time. Seeing the city is open to looking at it, and I was asked by Steve Barg to bring it up here before we started talking about it at negotiations. It seems the city is open to at least discussing this. So again, I wanted to bring it in front of the commission to get approval to even begin discussing this. Ways that'll make it cleaner than the inspection bureau process is now you'd have an officer in charge of both training and then an officer in charge of the inspection portion of the program, rather than have the lieutenant in charge of training and relief lieutenants in charge of inspections. The relief lieutenants are an assignment, not an official position. I think it gives us better control, better accountability over both programs, provides a much more seamless route to get to where we need to be. And it allows still that one lieutenant to oversee training and train with the shift, which is really important. It's not a novel concept to have two lieutenants on a shift. Wisconsin Rapids, Stevens Point, and Wausau all have multiple lieutenants per shift. And again, they're in charge of different programs on their departments as well. Another thing, it helps again with our recruitment, retention of employees. Adding another officer position to the department will help, I believe, retain our own people and push them forward. Keep them here, knowing that there's another position to attain. Let me see here. So it would affect our response. The plan would be then, if we do pursue this and it does come to fruition, provided you guys approve it, we'd have a lieutenant on each first out engine, and that would put the deputy chief then at that point in a station car, which is what a lot of our departments do. The station car allows the shift commander to get there ahead of the attack crews, conduct their 360, formulate a game plan, initial attack plan, and then when the engines arrive, everything's ready to go. And it gets us in the door faster if we're doing an offensive attack on the fire. So there's just a lot of benefits to adding a second lieutenant rather than the inspection bureau concept. I do see benefit in it. I'd like to pursue that in contract negotiations, provided we can bargain that with Local 1021. So I guess I'm asking you for your approval to do that in contract negotiations.
So is this adding another person to the department or reassigning one of the people we have on each shift?
That's a good question, and I should have mentioned that. It would be promoting a relief lieutenant up to that level. So we wouldn't be adding another position. We'd still remain at 39 sworn staff. It'd just be promoting one of those reliefs up, adding a rank. Yep, adding a rank is what we'd be doing.
Should have a motion.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to support this second lieutenant position on each shift and at least have the support of the commission for the chief to pursue this. Okay, motion by Steve. Second by Bill. No, are there any other questions? Monetary effect on your department?
Yeah, so the monetary effect, right now we have $9,000 budgeted for the relief lieutenants. Adding a second lieutenant would be about double the cost. It would be $18,000 to add. Memo here. Approximate cost of the inspection bureau was $10,807 approximately. Approximate cost of second lieutenant concept would be $20,403. So again, in the contract negotiations, that might be a quid pro quo type of situation. But yeah, it would add about $10,000 to our budget.
Okay, so it's what you have in for relief lieutenants plus another about 10.
Yes.
So, okay. Are there any questions on the motion to proceed with in this direction?
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like something we should have a roll call vote for. So roll call, please.
Thank you. I've got questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. How many lieutenants would you have then?
We'd have a total of 6 lieutenants on the fire department in total.
And sworn number is 39 or 40?
39 sworn staff.
39.
Lori is 40.
Swear her, so you got.
Right. Lori's too nice, we can't swear.
You know, we're coming to the point, it seems to me, where we need to talk a little about chiefs and Indians. In what ways would the new lieutenant's responsibilities change?
So right now, our lieutenants are our inspectors. They do the routine inspections for the day.
But their full job is not inspection. Their full job is managing the shift.
Yes, and it's tough to do that when they're out doing the inspections. And that's just the way we've always been set up, and therein lies the problem. And that's why we tried to create this inspection bureau concept, is that we wanted our lieutenants in-house to manage the shift, to provide training. They'd essentially be the training officer for their shift. Thereby, they would be training with their crew. They all get to know each other. Right now, the lieutenants are gone from 8 to 5 during the day, out doing routine inspections.
Yeah, I remember that argument when we last talked about it, that you should have your boss train with the
Correct.
workers, if you like.
Yes.
And that makes sense to me. But in a staff of 39 to have 6, you've got 6 lieutenants and how many deputy chiefs?
You have 5.
5. You've got over a quarter of your personnel and leadership roles. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well,
But they're all still working these, I mean, they're all.
Yeah, I understand, but still. Now, would you have, what happens when there's a call and everyone is out and you got 2 lieutenants on the same shift? Who's the boss?
and that's something we'd have to work out. Generally, I would say that, and this is probably the way it works in most departments, is the more senior lieutenant would probably be the boss. And again, this is something we're still pursuing and thinking about as we go. But I would see the more senior lieutenant being, like you said, the boss, and also in charge of the training program. That would put them, again, on their attack crew with their attack crew. They'd have the most experience.
And then the junior would be the inspector, but also, if the call requires be out in the field.
Correct, yeah.
Under the authority of the senior lieutenant.
Correct.
Or the training lieutenant.
Correct, so I would envision, you've got your deputy chief who is in charge of the command on a fire scene. Your one lieutenant would be inside with the attack crew managing the interior operations. The second lieutenant would be on the outside, perhaps with a second crew. And again, we're still developing this as we go. This just recently came up in negotiations, and we do have a little work to do to get there. But this will definitely streamline our command structure. Not to mention, if we do ever pursue a second station down the line at some point, this will allow your second officer, the structure will already be in place.
Okay. And you don't see any problems in division of responsibilities and authority and that sort of thing? There's got to be one boss on a fire scene. Just, you got to have one boss someplace.
Correct, and that'd be the deputy chief, the shift commander. Yeah.
Could you maybe have like a first lieutenant, second lieutenant designation or something like that to make it more clear?
Yeah,
I guess.
I think that's what we'd end up doing. First lieutenant being in charge of training, second lieutenant being in charge of inspections, is the initial thought.
You need the approval of the Police and Fire Commission. That makes sense to me. And that you got to work through the union a bit, that makes sense to me, although I don't understand what the union would object to. But
I don't.
But then
I don't either, but.
Yeah, I know. What makes sense doesn't necessarily make sense.
Right.
But finance, budget, and personnel, why do you have to go to them?
Finance, budget, and personnel.
Yeah.
I don't believe we'd have to, because we'd be promoting an internal candidate up into that lieutenant position. So we shouldn't have to go through finance, budget, personnel.
And the $10,000 that you're short, you could always find someplace within the current budget.
Correct.
You had to.
I would think so. I'd have to talk to Steve Barg a little bit more about that just to make sure, but well, maybe we are creating a second rank. I'd have to talk to Steve Barg about that because that would have impacted.
Lieutenant and lieutenant with an asterisk.
Yes.
Well, and the
First lieutenant, second lieutenant, whatever.
the additional cost the council might be interested in.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying inform, but I'm talking about approval. We spent too many years allowing the council to do the commission's business, and I'm done with that.
Well, this gives the chief approval to proceed with ironing everything out and the blessing, especially in terms of the contract negotiations.
Right.
That has the approval of the commission. We haven't formally approved the second.
No, but what I would like is for there to be an understanding between the commission and the leadership that this is commission's business. You know, read the statute. This is under management and administration. I don't think, and they'll argue until their face falls off. But I don't care. Finance, budget, and personnel, this is not their business.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yep, I understand where you're coming from, Commissioner Keough. I just wanted, the whole purpose of this was to get your permission for the restructure so I could start looking at it during contract.
I have no objection to it, except it seems to me that it appears to leave things pretty top-heavy. And, you know, if I'm an outsider, I walk in and I look at the org chart, holy, everyone's a chief. Now they're the Indians.
So they talk about span of control on the fire scene, which is, depending on what textbook you read, it's from 3 to 7 personnel. So one person should be managing anywhere between 3 and 7 personnel. So span of control generally, they say is 5. So 1 officer per 5 personnel. That will put us a little on the heavy side of that. I'd rather be a little on the heavy side than on the light side as well. So it's another thing to kind of think about.
I can add to that really quick.
Um,
As far as the structure, if you think about a per shift with a 12-person shift, you have the shift commander overseeing everything, 1 lieutenant doing inspections, 1 lieutenant doing training. When you look at it that way, to me, it doesn't seem very top-heavy, but I do understand your concern.
all right.
With the potential of a first and second lieutenant labeling, would there maybe be a difference in pay structure for those positions?
Yeah,
on what they actually do?
and that would be one thing we would discuss. I know one department is set up that way. I believe it's Wisconsin Rapids. I have to look at the contracts again, but I do know one of the comparables in our area is set up that way, where the first lieutenant receives a higher wage than the second lieutenant. And again, it was brought up in negotiations. I kind of stopped there because I wanted your approval prior to even starting to look at this, but that is something certainly we could look at.
I'm just wondering if it would lower that cost a little if need be, or.
It certainly could, yes.
And also give somebody a incentive to apply for first lieutenant the next go around or whatever.
Yeah, I like
kind
that.
of a thing.
I do like that idea, yes. And then, like you said, the cost that I put in there was at the current lieutenant wage, so yeah, it would lower the cost if we did do a second lieutenant.
Bill?
I'll look at this from an operational standpoint. If we have 2 lieutenants, that gives us the span of control. If you look at the ICS model, you're looking at 5 max in terms of your control. So this gives us better command and control. If we can get a chief, deputy chief there first in a department squad car, that's to our advantage. I know there are some area rural departments. You could have a chief officer who's perhaps even responding in his private vehicle to be first on the scene. Considering the way the city is growing, to have a deputy chief literally be first on the scene is to our advantage. Advantage in terms of getting prepared so that when you're at the scene at a considerable distance from the department, you are already set up to go. And when you look at distance, you're going up to Manville, you're going up to the northeast side. To have somebody on site, very possibly even to get evacuation started, that is greatly to our advantage.
Or to know right now you need more research sources now, you know.
Yeah, right.
That he is there.
And, and we can play this word game. Do you want Lieutenant 1, Lieutenant 2, Lieutenant? Do you want an inspector, to have somebody inspector, but really his rank is lieutenant? We can play that game back and forth. I've got no problem with going to the lieutenant position. I mean, if you look at some of the larger departments, first out of the station is an engine or a ladder truck with a captain, then there comes a lieutenant. So, we're, in a sense, we're moving more into where we should have been years ago within the command structure. So go with it.
Okay.
And we'll see what you can work out.
One other thing too is we've been setting up our station cars now with mobile data terminals, something we've never had before. So there'd be no additional cost to outfit those either. Our newest station car coming next year is budgeted to have a mobile data terminal in it for mapping and everything. So, and our current car 5 is set up that way. So we've been kind of preparing for this, also helping with our inspectors to have a computer on the car, but we're pretty well set to go with that part of it too.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move forward with this concept. And we'll see updates in the future. Roll call, please.
Steingraber,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Peak,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes. That concludes it all. You're still here. We gotta do the police. Chief, update on your activities.
I promise to be brief. Just a couple of things on our activities that I wanted to note. You may notice that Detective Gross has several lines of his training listed in his activities. That was a new detective training to get him ready for his new position, which he's doing well in. And there was several weeks of training there where he would attend a day or two every week, so we listed it several times in that activity. The other one I'd like to point out is we were able to send Officer Rehnquist to CIT training, which is critical incident training, which helps to train our officers to deal with people in mental crisis. It's our goal to send everybody to that training because of the number of calls that we deal with people who are in crisis. So he was able to attend that. With that, I'd be willing to answer any questions and just ask to place that on file.
So any questions on the police department activities? We will then receive those and place them on file. We appreciate that. Thanks for the update. Approval to refill vacancy, police department, chief.
With my promotion to chief, that opens up a lieutenant position, which we'll be hiring out of a list that we already have established. Once that person is hired, we will have another vacancy that's on patrol. So I'm requesting permission to move forward with filling that vacancy and opening up a hiring process for that.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second by Stephen.
Second.
Okay. Any questions?
How many new officers have we hired in the past year?
With this one, it'll bring us up to full staff.
But how many have we hired?
Oh boy,
Like new patrol person?
I believe we're on 4 or 5.
Okay, thank you.
I have to look it up, I've been away.
Is that a good flow for maintaining, staffing and readiness and knowledge?
It's really challenging right now with the number that we're gonna have 5 in FTO, which Commissioner Meek will attest that that's a challenge. There's a lot of people to push through. So we are stretched and actually pushing out our hiring dates to accommodate the training program.
Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Steingraber.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Peak,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes. Thank you. Are there any other items before the commission?
Excuse me, Mike, but I don't know if it's an item exactly. We have 2 new chiefs, and having been a new guy a number of times in my life, the questions the question that I always got that I thought was most helpful to me was for somebody to say to me, what vision do you have for the department over the next 5 or 10 years? And then we get a long-range plan. And that's not what I'm talking about at all, because I think as I've gotten older, I've become less enamored of long-range plans. But it does seem to me that both of you should have in your head a vision for what the place, what direction it's going, what things need to happen or could well happen, or some things we got to get rid of. We don't, there should be, I hope there is. I'd like to know what that is, and I think the rest of the commission would benefit from having a sense of. So I'm not talking about a 10-page report. I'm not talking, maybe it's a matter of at the next meeting and the next meeting, you take turns saying, well, this is sort of what I think ought to happen. This is the kind of changes I'd like to make. That'd be really helpful for, I think, all of us. Make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Good idea. Maybe we can look forward to that at the next meeting, or like you said, at the next 2 meetings.
Yeah.
If you get something put together, let Lori know about it, and we'll add it to the agenda. Or let me know about it. Steve?
2 things. One, the governor's distribution of federal funds for law enforcement agencies, Marshfield come up with $50,694. I don't know if the department's received that thus far. When you get that, it would be nice to come back and let us know what you want to spend that on.
There's been, in the 3 weeks that I've been there, there's been a lot of suggestions. So we're gonna be sorting through to prioritize those in the very near future.
Right, and then the other thing, before you took the helm as the chief, the commission had spoke to acting chief Zeps about doing like a personnel study to decipher whether or not we need more people, and if so, how many people. And I think that he was gonna go back and let the new chief, I'm aware of that. So that's something that I would look forward to, if not next meeting. That you can't do that all in a month, but sometime in the next few months or 6 months or whatever it would be.
See, I take it as a given that both departments need additional personnel. You got to build that argument with the council over a period of time. If you walk in and say, we need 6 more, they're going to tell you to jump on the leg. So I would guess that if you think, as I asked, tell us what you think the future holds and what we got to do to get there. It's going to be personnel as part of it, and then we got to talk. We have a strategy for how we get ourselves positioned so that you get what you need, and that can be a long-term process.
Are there any other suggestions for items on future agendas? No? Well, we come to the point in the agenda where we adjourn, and if there's no objections, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.